everyone, this is Eddie from aBlogtoWatch.com, and today I'm at Rolex by the Watch Gallery at 1 Hyde Park with Jamie Hartz, who is a watchmaker working here. Hello, Jamie.
Hi.
So Jamie, you work on a lot of Rolex movements every day as part of what you do. How often should I service my Rolex, and what happens if I don't?
The window really is between 3 and 5 years. There isn't a set amount of time that sort of once 3 years passes that you have to, I must service my watch now. It's a case of the lubricants inside the watch have a certain lifespan, and the guideline is between 3 and 5 years. If you don't service the watch and you keep wearing it, eventually the oils will dry up and then the parts will start to wear a lot faster. So really, you're not going to do sort of hundreds of pounds worth of damage by not servicing your watch, but to keep your watch working properly, we recommend that within the 3 to 5 year period that you service the watch.
And what is the process of servicing? Like, say I have a Rolex watch, I bring it into you.
Mm-hmm.
Can you just walk me through what you do with it and till when I get it back finally?
Absolutely. The first thing we do is obviously we take the watch in front of house. Then the watch is handed over to myself and I will perform an estimate, which means that I break the watch down, I take the movement from the case, I inspect the bracelet, the case, all of the seals will be removed, and the movement is inspected thoroughly to see what exactly is wrong with the watch. The estimate is done purely because some parts are not included in the full service. If you have a watch that's in great condition but it just needs to be serviced, usually the parts will be included in the service and it will be a standard service price. So things like wheels, cogs, springs, seals, those are sort of things that would all be included in the service charge, along with the labour, etc., and the polishing. But anything that's a large component like balance wheels, bridges, if the glass is smashed, if the dial needs to be replaced, they would all be quoted for as an extra. But as I say, most of the service charge includes everything that we would need to do, I would say, for sort of 65% of the watches that we service here. The things that we will do is we will strip the whole movement. We completely sort of dismantle the whole watch. All the case components break up, so your glass, bezel, tube, crown, case back, the bracelet's disassembled, and the movement is completely disassembled with the hands and dial coming off. Everything's broken down. Then what I do is I inspect every single part inside the watch for any signs of wear. This is not something that I can do as part of the estimate. I've already done the estimate at this point. These little parts will be the ones that are included in the service price. Anything that's showing any signs of wear at all, we throw away and we replace them with new parts, because the tolerances inside the watch are so fine that the slightest part, the sort of slightest wear on the watch can cause a problem with it. So once I've inspected everything, the watch would then go into something that's called an ultrasonic watch cleaner. It carries fluids in there which degrease all the old oils, etc., off all the parts that we're keeping, and we also wash the new parts to make sure that they're perfectly clean. It goes through a cleaning agent, and then it goes through 3 rinsing agents to make sure all the cleaning solutions are removed, everything is absolutely spotless, and then it goes into a drying section in the machine. I then now have a complete watch in pieces that is ready for me to reassemble. When I'm reassembling it, I will be relubricating the watch to make sure the oils are correctly applied to the parts that are moving, etc., all the bearing surfaces. Once the movement is assembled, I would then time test it first time. Once I'm happy with the timekeeping, I would then fit the hands and dial. The hands and dial would then obviously be set so the hands are all aligned. The date changes exactly at 12 o'clock. And then I will put the watch to one side, the movement only. At this point, I would usually work on the case and the bracelet. So what we do then is we would clean them first of all, and then the second thing that I would do would be to refinish the case itself and the bracelet. So I use various cutting, polishing and grinding wheels to remove any scratches, any small dents, etc., that are imperfections on the case surface that I can remove, so that we bring the watch back to as near as new as we possibly can. So most of the time people get their watches back and they're completely amazed because it looks like a brand new watch. All the scratches are gone and they're like, oh my god, this is brilliant. So that's the second phase. Once that's all done, all the polishing, rouge, etc. is all cleaned off the watch. So much like the inside part, we have to then clean the outside parts so that they're perfectly clean, and we reassemble the case. So the tube is refitted, the crown's refitted, the glass, the bezel seals, the back seals. So it's now a watertight, empty case.
Okay. And
then what I do is I do a pressure test on the watch case to make sure that there are no leaks, which they usually aren't. On some of the old watches, maybe they tend to be more liable to a leak, but the new watches are so good they very, very rarely leak. So once we've got the case pressure tested, we can then put the movement, which we've set aside with the dial and hands fitted, we can then fit that into the case of the watch, time the watch again for the second time in the case, fit the automatic device to the back of the movement, fit the case back, and then I would then put the watch on test for a minimum of sort of 3 or 4 days on something called a simulator, which simulates wear. It's a machine that moves around very slowly, which moves enough just to turn the automatic work, and it also moves the watch around in different positions to simulate somebody wearing the watch. It's as close as I can get to physically having somebody wear the watch. And then after those 3 or 4 days, I can then tell how much time the watch has lost or gained, if it's performing as it should do. Then I can make the relevant adjustments to the watch.
Okay.
Tighten the case back up, fit the bracelet to the watch, and we're good to go.
So typically, what's the average time a customer would have to wait for something routine like what you've just described?
Once the estimate's been proceeded, we quote sort of around 6 weeks.
Okay. So what types of servicing and repair can you do here, and what has to be sent back to Rolex in Switzerland?
We wouldn't need to send anything at all back to Switzerland.
Okay.
We can take in any watch that a customer has here. There are certain models like the Deep Sea which needs extremely specialist equipment for the sort of 4,000 meters or whatever it is water resistancy. That's a serious, like, heavy duty piece of kit to test the casing on that.
Yeah.
Other models like the Yachtmaster 2 and the old Complications, etc., they would all have to be sent back to Rolex, but customers are more than welcome to drop them off here with us.
Okay.
And then we'll take care of getting them to Rolex for them.
Okay.
And we'll take care of the paperwork, etc., inform the customer when we have an estimate through.
Okay.
Everything else that we can do here by myself in the workshop here. So.
Okay. So from a watchmaker's perspective, Rolex is known for their reliability and the durability of the movements. Can you just give me your opinion on that?
I think durability is a key word. The watches are extremely well made. Some people don't think that they're the prettiest watches in the world, but to standards of finishing, the quality of materials, the manufacturing process, considering they're classed as a mass-produced watch, the quality is impeccable. They don't cut any corners. It always has to be the best with Rolex, and this is why they have been so successful, because the watches are, nothing's indestructible, but they're as close to being as a watch can be, really.
You're a watchmaker that works with Rolex movements every day. So what do you find about the movement that makes it so durable and reliable?
The quality of the components inside the watch. I've worked on other watch brands as well, and the thing with a Rolex watch is they fall together almost.
Okay.
They go together so easily because everything is so perfectly engineered and manufactured to the correct specifications and sizes. You don't have to kind of wrestle things into position. They just go together as they should do, and that makes them a joy to work with.
So your life is much easier then, basically.
Yes.
Well, do you ever get watches that have been badly damaged and you've brought them back to life?
Yes, regularly. We have watches that have leaked water.
So is that a very common thing that happens?
It is, and the reason that they have leaked water is because the customers have set the time, and what they haven't remembered to do is to screw the crown back onto the case. Obviously, because the watch needs to be adjusted. To make the watch waterproof, it needs to have that screw down crown. It works in a similar way to a submarine hatch. It screws tight to the case. And the problem is, if you don't screw it back to the case, which people forget to do sometimes, if you swim, it can allow water to get into the case.
Okay.
And if water gets into the case, it's not a good thing, especially if it's seawater, which is salty. As I'm sure you're aware, with cars, etc., people say wash the salt off your car because it's a corrosive. A watch movement, the last thing you want inside the watch is water, because it causes rust inevitably. And then when things rust, they bind together, and the whole thing needs to be completely stripped and cleaned, and the rust to be removed, which is an incredibly time-consuming process.
Okay.
So that would be the most common and the worst incident.
So basically, advice from your friendly watchmaker is to
always remember to screw your crown back down onto your case. Very simple, but so important.
So, Jamie, thank you very much for your time and
You're
for
welcome.
answering my questions about Rolex and Rolex servicing. I'm sure this will be useful to many Rolex owners out there. Thank you again.
Thank you.